So, hello, good morning to everyone. Welcome to our second webinar on the soil mission topic. So I hope that you all participated in our first webinar as well. There we presented very nice case studies from Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. And now our second webinar is more concentrated on the soil mission, but as well on citizen engagement. And we share a lot of good practices, what has been done already in the respective countries. So I'm Ülle Napa, I'm from Estonian Research Council. And I would now give the word for welcome as well to my colleagues who are the co-organizers. So tere tulemast kõigile Eesti osalejatele, and I would give the word now to my Latvian colleague Egita.
Hello everybody, sveiki! Sveiciens no LatTech, no Latvijas Inovāciju un tehnoloģiju pārstāvniecības Briselē. Lai jums labs, noderīgs webinārs, un es ceru uz tālāku sadarbību. And I give a floor to Karolina.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Dzień dobry, witamy wszystkich bardzo serdecznie. So a very warm welcome from National Center for Research and Development Brussels office. We sincerely hope that you're going to enjoy the webinar and don't forget to ask the questions to our excellent speakers. I pass the floor to Julia.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you in our webinar. Sveiki atvykę į Dirvožemio misijos renginį. I am Julia Baniukevič, and I'm representing Lithuanian RDI Liaison Office. And it's really, as it was mentioned, citizen engagement is a key. in EU soil mission. So it's great to start this event with a special action for citizens, for our audience. So the first, we will start with a few questions that was prepared for you on Slido. So what do you need to do? So you can scan this QR code, what you see on the screen, or you can go to the website slido.com, and where you will see hashtag, then you just need to sign EU soil, and then you will have the event showing. And so you can sign. I hope everyone it's already there, and you are in the Slido and ready for 2 questions. So we have 2 questions for you. So let's start with the first one. So let's no, this is what do you think when you hear the word soil? Just type whatever it's coming first to your mind. You hear the word soil, so and what is coming with that? Mission. Okay, great. Food. What else? Oh, a lot of. I see that a lot of people are thinking about food first when it comes with the soil. So what others? Words. Okay, it's interesting. Something else is coming. I hope we have more interaction. Soil organism, humus, black. Okay, I want more words here. Full of life, ground, agriculture, variety. Okay, it's going very interesting. Okay, something else, but it's still the biggest are food and warmth. So these are 2 main keywords. Agriculture. Okay, so the third main keyword is appearing. Okay, and there are a lot of other keywords as you see. Yes, climate, forestry, health, carbon, climate, sequestrator. Okay, I guess it's not for very often. I guess it will be okay. What else? Farmers, pollutions. Okay, I see that 12 people is participating, so it's so great. And we have the audience of 33 people now. So I hope we can have it more for the second question. And just in case you just enter our event, so you see on the screen, you see the QR code. So you can scan this QR code, or you can join to the website slido.com, and then you have then sign by hashtag sign EU soil, and then you have this nice question, and you can participate in this public audience question. Okay. So we have a lot of words that are associated with the word soil. And this is interesting, yes, but mains are food and warmth and agriculture. So let's go for the second question. Thank you everyone who participated in this one. So let's have another question. So as some of you, and we saw that one of the first associations that came in mind was mission. So then the second question is related to that. So how would you like to be engaged in the youth mission soil? So what are your vision? What you can do? How would you like to be engaged in the mission soil?
Julia, also, I don't know if you're seeing that, but there are people responding in the chat as well, not using the Slido, but there are some very nice responses to the first question in the chat.
That's thank you, Carolina. Yes, I haven't seen, but thank you, Carolina. Yes,
so we had there is home and tradition and a word full of life and a big garden as well. So that was still responses to the first one.
Thank you for the chat. Also, that's amazing. Yes, it's always good to you can respond also to the chat, and also you can use chat for putting your questions. So if you have your questions, so bring on the table and put to the chat. So we will take care of that questions. Okay, so cover soil remediation to make the stakeholders. the mission, promote mission, cooperation is the key, living labs, great, a lot of things are coming, government engagement, a lot of things are coming to the mind. So maybe, Carolina, if you see someone in the chat, so let us know. And I see that a lot of these keywords will be mentioned during today: nutrients balance, citizens initiatives, improve the soil quality, enlarge areas with good soil, involve farmers and stakeholders. Perfect, perfect. A lot of things are the soil topic at national level. Great. We were talking about national level in our first webinar, so you can also see the recordings of the event on the YouTube channel. You can also, as some of the proposals are coming, so educating society, educate public about importance of soil, participate as SME. Amazing, amazing. 11 people already, 12 already participated.
Julia,
so
there are still, sorry for interrupting, there are still some responses in the chat. So for example, Pavel is suggesting that maybe by finding a scientific project that he could participate, which could help protect the environment. And there's another one about the introduction of organic fertilizers.
Perfect. Thank you, Carolina, for adding this. So perfect ideas coming out of this. So yes, I see 2 more: farmers education, make use of studies and bring them on the ground, and performing research. So I saw a lot of nice ideas. I think I can leave this question open just in case you would love it to participate and write something for this question. So you are very welcome to do it during the event. You always can go to #EUSoil on slido.com, and there will be this question will be open. So you can do it during the event. And as we saw a lot of, I see that, yes, and gardening methods, great. So thank you very much for your participating and quite active participation. And it's really nice to hear your ideas, and really nice to see that you are so active. But we would love to go ahead with our program. And this is really very happy and glad to present our speaker, who is joining us from European Commission, from DG AGRI, and she will present Arianna Pasa. Thank you very much for joining us and being with us together after your holidays, short, but yes. And she will present us the possibilities, the participatory instruments for a soil deal for Europe, mission possible in the Baltic Sea region. So how to implement, what are the tools, how we can engage citizens for EU soil. So Arianna will cover all these topics during her presentation, but we wanted to start her presentation with a nice video about EU mission soil deal for Europe. So let's hope it will work. Let's hope you see. Yes. And now, let's go. I hope that everyone heard the movie and liked it. Arianna, until we are preparing the presentation for you to show, so yes. Arianna, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Juliet. Can you hear me well, I suppose? Yeah?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Carolina is preparing the presentation.
Yes, I am. Just give me half of the second.
No problem. Yes, great. We
can you see it?
Yes.
Very well. So thank you, Julia, for the introduction and for inviting me to this event. I enjoyed very much this first part of asking the question to the audience. I hope you can also send me the results because it's very useful also for our work to hear from the people we met during these events. So I work in the DG, responsible for agriculture and rural development, but I'm in the research and innovation unit. So we work mainly with Horizon Europe funds, so the research funds. I'm part of the secretariat of the mission Soil, and I'm responsible mainly for soil literacy communication and engagement within the mission. So if we can go to the next slide. I know that you had a previous event on this mission, so I won't repeat all the details, but I thought it was useful to remind what is the mission and what is it about. So if someone was not there before, when my colleague Sandra Einzelmann and Paola Eulalio presented the mission, at least you have an overview of the goal. So the mission is called the mission A Soil Yield for Europe. And the full title is 100 Living Labs and Lighthouses to lead the transition toward healthy soils by 2030. So this is the overall goal of the mission. It has 8 specific objectives under it. And one of these objectives is to improve soil literacy in society. As I said that I work for the DG, responsible for agriculture and rural development, but it's important to mention that the mission aims at work on different type of soils, so all type of land use. It means not only in agriculture and forestry, but also in urban areas. For instance, could be this mission could work in parks. So if we can go to the next slide. How we plan to implement the mission, mainly through 4 building blocks. We call them building blocks. They are the pillar that are funding the implementation of the mission. The first one is the research and innovation program, so really to look at the gaps. And in terms of citizen engagement, it means also to include social science and to explore how behavioral changes happens. For instance, we analyzed with a high-level group of experts called the Mission Board that a lot of research is already there in terms of soil science. So we know what we should do somehow to improve soil health, but in practice, not always is applied. So why this mission is innovative somehow? Because for the second building block, we want to work directly with the practitioner and with citizens. So the mission is implemented through living labs mainly and lighthouses. It means that the solution found by the researchers are sorry, one step back. The researcher will design the research according to the needs faced by practitioners on the ground. So it's really to experiment together, to find the solution together, so that we know that the solutions that are found are really useful on the level when they are then applied. So the third building block is about soil monitoring. There are only, I think, 6 or 7 member states at the moment in Europe that are reporting on the status of their soil. It is not harmonized yet at European level, but it is needed if you want to really measure the changes in our soil. In terms of citizen engagement under this building block, it can mean that citizens can contribute to science through citizen science, or it can also be translated into having a kind of soil passport or a soil certification to easily identify when a product, for instance, comes from a soil that is managed in a sustainable way. And finally, the fourth building block is soil literacy, communication, and citizen engagement. We link the three aspects together because they are very interrelated. So, for instance, you cannot do citizen engagement if you don't have a communication part before to explain what you want to do, for instance, or to inform about the importance of soil. So here we want to reach out to different type of audience and to engage them in different ways. So I will focus now on this part. If we can go to the next slide. So what does citizen engagement mean in the framework of the mission A Soil Dear for Europe? There are different definitions of citizen engagement. There are a stricter definition that they look at citizen engagement as a type of deliberative democracy. In context of the mission, we tend to interpret it in a broader way. So it is understood as being active in nature and to have a two-way process between those being engaged and those that seek the engagement. So the Commission is trying to have an approach where there is a dialogue between two parts, let's say. If we can go to the next slide. Why is citizen engagement important? So for legitimacy and acceptance, it is very important to have this type of dialogue to understand what are the needs of today, but also of tomorrow. So the mission in itself is a novelty because this citizen engagement part, it's really embedded into the instrument. So we cannot do research and innovation without taking into consideration what are the societal needs. And the mission translated it into a process to co-design and co-implement with citizen scientists, innovators, land managers, farmers, special planners, forester, etc. The mission itself. So this also should ensure that we respond to needs that are present at the local level. As I said, this can happen mainly through the Living Lab, but not only. And the idea is that the results can continue beyond the life of the mission. So the mission is just one of the instruments at European level for the protection and restoration of soil health. It should start the process to then have healthy soils across Europe. So if we can go to the next slide. In this slide, you can see that we identify some long-term targets for the mission. So the idea is to increase the awareness of the general public on the role and value of soil. It was very interesting to see the results of the first questions, because one of the words that came out is food. So it is something that is very clear in most of our minds, that soil is connected with food, but maybe not all are aware that soil is also important for filtering water. So if we don't have healthy soil, we are more exposed to floods and droughts, for instance. Or it is not, maybe we don't make this link immediately when we think about biodiversity. Soils are rich in terms of biodiversity. There is a lot of life within soil, and most of the little animals that are within soil are not even classified yet. But this is something that we don't think when we mention the word soil. So it is important to underline all the the function that soil has for the life of the planet, but also for human life. So the second point that we identified is that, and that we would like to achieve with this mission, is that soil health is firmly embedded in school and educational curriculum. And I will come back to this later when I'll show you the funding opportunities currently open. Then, if you can go back, citizen involvement is important in soil and land-related issues. So again, living labs and lighthouses are the places where this engagement can happen, but not only there. And finally, practitioners and stakeholders should have appropriate access to information and training. So now we can go to the next slide. I wanted to show you some of the activities we did since September 2019. We started to communicate about the mission even before knowing which was the concrete objective of the mission. We felt that it was important to reach out to people, to discuss, and to also co-design together with the mission. It is not mentioned in my slides, but for instance, we had several citizen engagement events where we presented different what we presented what we were doing at the time. So we were defining the mission itself. We hadn't the goal at the time, nor the specific objectives. So details they are now. And we discussed with different audience to see what were the priorities of citizens. We even did some events with randomly selected citizens, so to have a representative audience to make sure that we could collect the view of different people. Here in this slide, you can see some of the example of the fairs. These are all pictures, but this year, because before COVID, we ended with the Salon de l'Agriculture in Paris. It's a big, one of the biggest agricultural fair in Europe. And this year we went again to Paris, finally, and we organized, for instance, an activity to teach people how to compost at home. So there were many kids around this stand that could learn how to compost food waste at home. So if we can go to the next slide. We also worked with high-level experts. They are in a group that is called the Mission Board. The Mission Board is currently, will be renewed very soon. And they also acted as mission ambassador. This meant for us to go to different member states who have the possibility to have events in different languages to reach out to different audiences. If we can go to the next slide. Other examples are online games that were available, for instance, during the first lockdown. We had to switch quickly from a physical presence to an online presence. So we worked hard to find out what type of tools we could use to engage people even in difficult times. So I'll send you later in the chat the latest campaign we launched. We launched this around 10 days ago. It's a social media campaign on good practices. And the idea is really to target different types of audience and to suggest a good practice that could be applied. So we can go to the next slide. We can skip also this because we saw the video. And I think it was a good example to show how we translate difficult messages or complex messages into simple messages that can be understood by a broad audience. We also had more specialized articles and we had an episode on Euronews, several articles on Horizon magazine. And if we go to the next slide, and we also publish what we call this results bag. This is a publication that collects the results of several Horizon 2020 projects that worked on soil. And it puts all of them together, so it's easy to access the information and to link to successful projects that were already funded by the EU. So if we can go to the next slide. Let me summarize to say what is the added value of doing citizen engagement. Basically, it is the possibility to mobilize different types of actors to make sure that we act together for the protection and restoration of soil health. As I said, the mission is not the only instrument at the European level to work on the protection and restoration of soil health, but it is a funding mechanism that can launch a process across Europe to improve soil health. The policy framework, I have to mention it, there is a soil strategy, which is the umbrella. So we are working to, with the mission to contribute to achieve the objective of the soil strategy, but also to the Green Deal more in general and to several of the strategies under the Green Deal. There is an upcoming, the soil health law is upcoming, so it should be published next year. And finally, there is also the EU Soil Observatory. So this was launched only, I think it was the end of 2021, and it should serve as long-term data reservoir. So as I said, there is not an harmonized framework to monitor soil health across the EU, not yet. So the idea is that the Soil Observatory can start to harmonize the indicators, start to look at what is happening across member states. So we can go to the next slide. Yes, here let me very quickly present how we translated the citizen engagement into concrete calls under Horizon Europe. So you have seen there are different parts contributing to the objectives that we have into the mission. To increase soil literacy, we need to act at different levels. We have communication and engagement events and so on and so forth, but we also want to have stakeholders to work to achieve this objective. And how we do that, we can go to the next slide. For instance, in the work program of the mission 2021, there was a call which was called Engage with and Activate Municipalities and Regions to Protect and Restore Soil Health. Here, for instance, the idea was that the regional and the local level, which are closer to citizens, could organize their own event initiatives. We weren't so prescriptive in how they want to engage citizens at the different level, but the idea really was to start to discuss with citizens on how to manage land in a more sustainable way. So in the next slide, here there are the new calls for application that they are currently open until the almost the end of September, the 27th of September. And I would like to call your attention to the topic called Foster Soil Education Across Society. So as I said before, one of the objectives that we identify, one of the long-term objectives that we identified under the building block on soil literacy, communication, and citizen engagement was exactly to embed soil education in schools. So this call is exactly meant to have a project working with schools and on university, so also with teachers, with educators, and so on, to find new new tools, innovative tools to work in the educational field to improve soil literacy. And I think this was my last slide. Here you can find some links. I think these slides will be shared after. And these are some of the examples of the effort we did in terms of communication. Just to mention one, there are also 2 podcast episodes. Myself, I'm a really fan of podcasts, so I invite you to listen to them. You can find the link directly in this slide. So thank you very much for your attention, and thanks again to the organizer for having me here today.
Thank you very much, Arianna, for this comprehensive presentation. We are very glad to hear, and we are opening now the floor for the questions and for the discussion with the audience. Egita, you are managing the chat. Do you have something from there?
Let me see, but let me just start with the question. Also, I think it's coming from many people. Is what do you expect the applications for these calls to be driven by the businesses or by the civil society?
So, I think that who will be in the lead is usually a research institute or a university, just because the complexity of using these funds. But what we are requesting in this type of calls is to have different type of stakeholders within the consortia itself. So, for instance, in 2021, we wanted to have regional and local authorities involved to make sure that the type of engagement could happen, and to have involved those who actually have the power to act on the local level. This, with the call Foster Soil Education Across Society, we expect that the proposals that will arrive will include different type of stakeholders, so also experts in education, teachers themselves, students. So it is true that to manage the application itself, we expect that it will be a research institute or a university, as I said. But within the consortia, and so the people who will implement the project needs to be different type of actors.
Very interesting. So in order to foster this engagement, how do you see some good practices already in our region or somewhere else, how these citizens are grouping together to create cooperations that could be interesting for your calls? Is it universities reaching out to the schools, or maybe you have some good examples on that?
So in this moment, I don't have in mind something precisely. I know that in the funding and tender portal, there is the possibility for different entities to signal that they are interested in participating in a call or in the other. So if there are small entities that want to show that they are interested in participating in a specific topic, but maybe they don't have the capacity themselves, because maybe it might be that is a small organization, they can show that they are interested in participating. So this is one option that I have in mind. I know that we had a brokerage event. I know that your event was also very successful in this sense, the previous one that you had on soil health, to matchmaking different type of stakeholders. And another suggestion that I have is to have a look maybe at the info days, the recording. The recording are available online, and maybe you can, the different organizations that are interested, they can also write in the chat. So other people that are looking at the info days, they may know through this. Then my suggestion is, if you are aware that a university in your country is working on European projects, or if you know that there are an institute that is particularly linked to work in soil, it's also to reach out. In some cases, university may be looking for some partners, so maybe it's also good to reach out in both way.
Okay, thank you, Arianna. Let me just then finalize this part by saying that it's very interesting learning point that it's expected to be research institutions or universities to be the main lead of the consortia, and that info days, recordings, and brokerage events are that happen on regional levels is the good source, and also the funding portal information. And also, let me just say that I invite everybody to follow our offices on LinkedIn. That and I invite all my colleagues to post here in the chat the links to our communication channels on LinkedIn or Twitter or somewhere else where we are, so participants can follow us in order to see our next brokerage events that you could participate to group and to find the project partners for Mission Soil and also other missions that we are working on. So that's very interesting. Thank you so much, Arianna. And I give the floor back to, I think, Ulla for the next chapter of our discussion today, where will be the good examples of our region.
Thank you very much. So very interesting discussions, and we will go on. So next in our agenda, we have Mr. Michael Browne, Chief Executive Officer, CrowdHelix Opportunities in the Soil Mission. So I will give the floor to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm just checking, can you hear me okay? Yep, okay, yes. Great. I'll just share my screen if that's okay. One sec. Share desktop. And can I just confirm that you can see these slides? If you could, I can't see you, so if someone could just say that they can see them.
We see it very well.
Okay, great. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to come and speak to you this morning and to showcase what we are doing at CrowdHelix in the collaboration space, and specifically in the area of missions. My name is Michael Browne. I'm the CEO and one of the founders at CrowdHelix. CrowdHelix was set up about 5 or 6 years ago in response to the changing nature of collaborative projects, mainly in Horizon 2020, but also global public funded programs as well, that require that now multi-stakeholder engagement across different sectors, regions and disciplines. And my previous role before being at CrowdHelix, I was head of European Research and Innovation at University College London. And we were very successful in building networks, and one of the most successful HEIs in Horizon 2020. But when it came to building international networks with different stakeholders, it became quite tricky. Where could we find these people? Different compositions of organizations and disciplines that are required now. Being a university in my previous role, we would need to coordinate with businesses, particularly SMEs, multinationals, policy groups, different disciplines, different sectors, end users, and also citizens. And this is a challenge for most people when they're doing this type of work, building teams, building programs that are trust-based with the partnerships that they're building. But also doing so in an efficient way. And what we do at CrowdHelix is we have a network of organizations and our own technology platform that builds communities, so virtual clusters around thematic areas, and we profile organizations and people within those organizations. And when we use technology and facilitation to help to connect people in response to forthcoming societal challenges, and we're doing so in the area of the missions as well. So just a brief bit about CrowdHelix in terms of the numbers that we have. We've got nearly fast approaching 600 member organizations from 53 different countries. We had our first... Hello, somebody is not on
someone
mute.
has a microphone on.
Yep, okay. Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
Okay, cool. So here are just some stats and metrics about CrowdHelix, the number of users we have, the number of collaboration opportunities that have been posted on our platform so far, number of organizations. In fact, just this morning we had confirmation of our 53rd country represented on our platform from Albania, which is great to see. We see ourselves as a connecting platform and network, really focusing on making connections across the European research area, and we feel that we can play a very valuable role, particularly in the area of widening participation and also in mission community building in response to the missions agenda. Just some more stats here really around our track record in terms of our network. So our network members are some of the top performing organizations in Horizon funding and international collaboration. You can see here basically the communities that we have so far launched on our platform, and you'll see that these are called helixes. We have fast approaching 40 helixes, and we have a helix for each of the missions. And today's mission obviously is about soil. So we have designed, launched, and now started to grow this community in soil, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. Each of these areas, these thematic areas, are either led by a member, a leading RTO member, research technology organization member at CrowdHelix, or it's in response to a project that we have, one where we are responsible for building that community as an impact acceleration partner in projects that we have been awarded, basically. So just a bit about the mission soil. So I spoke to Julia a few weeks ago, and she said that she had been attended one of our recent project events for a project called Time for CS, and Time for CS is one of the European Commission's flagship coordination and support action projects funded in the area of citizen science. And what we did was we spoke about our work in that project, and we are creating a mission in the area of citizen science, and also linking the helixes that we're also building around the mission areas. And here is our mission soil helix, just a high level overview. It's currently led by the EU grants access in Switzerland. So this is a combination of the ETH Zurich and University of Zurich organizations, and also the NCPs in Switzerland. And basically what we do is we leverage our existing network and platform. So we have over 10,000 profiles on our platform, and fast approaching 600 member organizations. And what we do is we reach into these organizations and we invite them, the most appropriate people who we feel would be interested in mission soil, to join this helix. And then we use technology behind the scenes, something called a recommender engine, to then suggest and propose recommended collaborations in those suggested areas. So in this case it would be mission soil. The idea behind it is to try and make it easier for people to profile themselves and to connect, to build partnerships, to build new value chains. I think this has always been a challenge for researchers to business, particularly SMEs. also the real drive towards citizen engagement. How do we get that kind of quadruple helix system working, where you have all the main stakeholders really engaged and collaborating? And what we're trying to do is make it in some way easier for these organizations to be visible, and then using technology to promote collaboration in response to forthcoming opportunities. Obviously, in response to this, as I said, this has always been a challenge to do because of the international dimension, and also the complexity of some of these funding initiatives and the challenges that we face, of course, as well. I think this challenge in terms of collaboration has also been accentuated by COVID. Obviously, we have now the limitations around face-to-face activity, international mobility. But conversely, we have the real increasing need to innovate and collaborate, and the importance of science has never really been so high in terms of addressing these challenges. So what we're trying to do at CrowdHelix is provide a part solution to that in response to these challenges in soil, and we have set up the soil mission, which we are growing now. You'll see here at the bottom some of the key organisations that have expressed interest in that. So University College Cork, University of Leeds, University of Utrecht, and then what we do is we will deep dive into our network, and then basically invite the suggested profiles of people who we think would be interested in this forthcoming agenda, and get them to invite them to the Helix and profile themselves, and use technology to build partnerships. So just here's a high-level overview of how the Helix works, with the different types of activities that we do, using our network really to build value, to build communities. It's open community, so our premise is really focused on open innovation. We really want to, there is no stakeholder or segmentation group that we would say is not basically allowed to be part of our network. If they're interested in research and innovation, they want to participate and get involved, then they can form part of the CrowdHelix network. They would then be profiled on our platform, and then we apply technology to really recommend suggested partnerships, and we link in through tech as well, through an API, like call opportunities from the Commission and other public funded programs, to really drive these opportunities into the Helix, and then recommend suggested partnerships whose profile match the keywords and the call text really. We then have a Helix manager within CrowdHelix, who is then responsible for managing that community and basically delivering value and success. So success is really about making valuable connections, and those valuable connections then lead into partnerships and projects being won, and then hopefully impacts being delivered on this agenda as well. And then we deliver events as well, which is like brokerage events in response to forthcoming calls. So when some calls are coming through, maybe 6-9 months in advance, we would look to prepare and deliver an impact event where we bring in prospective coordinators, and then match the coordinator's agenda or proposal with suggested partners, and build teams really at these events. And then another area that we focus on is funding opportunities, not exclusively linked to Horizon Europe, but to any form of public funded opportunity that's linked to soil. So at the moment our focus is on EU funding, which is obviously the missions are relatively new, but we're also opening up the funding opportunities that will be coming through the Helix to other non-Horizon European funding opportunities, and then linking this through our platform to suggested emerging consortia. And then really what we then do is layer the Helix with what I would consider to be end users, citizens, impact end users, so people like industry and commercial stakeholders, strategically aligned projects and partners. So are there any other projects, flagship projects that have been funded that would be interested in this community that we're building? How can we build new forms of collaboration and value chains between this existing mission and the projects that have already been funded, both at European, national and international levels as well? And then we're also then linking, we have a private finance community on our platform as well, which is led by the European Business Angel Network. And what we also do is link the potential investment opportunities, angel investment opportunities, if and when appropriate, to emerging ideas and projects that will be spinning out from this community. So yeah, these are the other, obviously the other missions that I'm sure you're all aware of. And we have an RTO that leads in each of these respective areas. So we have Trinity that lead on Trinity College Dublin in Ireland that lead on cancer. We have Climate that's led by the University of Antwerp. We have Cities, which is led by NTNU in Norway, and then we have Oceans, which is led by a Turkish organisation called METU, and also the University of Malta. They jointly run this, and then obviously the Soil mission, which I've showcased today. I think mainly what I wanted to do today was just to give you an overview of what we're doing in terms of using technology and networking to build communities and clusters around these emerging areas. The mission's agenda is hugely ambitious. It's going to take a long time, really, to be able to deliver the proposed agenda and objectives of what is being planned. And I think, given the compositions of the networks that are needed in order to deliver this, you know, in terms of stakeholders, we feel that we can play a role in this at CrowdHelix by making it hopefully easier for people to profile themselves and then build connections across these different disciplines, sectors, and regions. So yeah, I'd like to thank you for your time. This was really just a whistle-stop tour of what we're doing. We are CrowdHelix. If any of you would like more information on what we do, please contact us. You can also join our network going through the platform. And also I'd welcome all of you to follow us, and also very happy for you to tweet about us or LinkedIn message about us today, should you wish, and should you like to make any messages about today's presentation. So thank you all for the listening to my presentation, and thank you to Julia and the organizer of today's event for inviting me and CrowdHelix the opportunity to showcase what we're doing in this space. Very happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting overview. Maybe before we go on, we have a QA session at the end as well, and you're very welcome to post your questions in the chat, but we have one question specially dedicated to you here, and I would like to tackle that now. Do you have a public service for non-members, or all the services are for the members only?
So our primary business model is membership based model. Having said that, one of our top priorities for delivering outcome and success is around widening participation. And if there are organizations in areas that we deem to fit this criteria and they have requirements that we feel we can add value to, then we can do this for sure. Like, we can treat these as exceptions to the rule, because for us it's about delivering outputs and success, and we feel we can do this. I mean, we could be talking about becoming a member for months or years, but if we can actually demonstrate value first to non-members, actually, then chances are they'll turn into a member. So if any of your people here today or your extended networks would like to discuss the prospect of us being able to help them in any way, inviting them to the Helix to have a look around, have a test, give us ideas of where their requirements are in terms of building new partnerships in soil and other areas, then please get in contact. We'll be very happy to demonstrate that, but even before they become members, so it's not a problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I encourage you and the others as well, the other speakers, to post their web pages as well, or their LinkedIn pages to the chat, so people could click directly. So thank you, and let's go on with our next speaker. I would like to invite here Piibe Vaher from e-Agronome from Estonia, and she will talk about Soilandis project.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. We have a bit of a thunderstorm problem in Tartu at the moment, so our office went black, so we don't have any electricity. I'm relying on my phone.
I think we lost you for a moment. Okay, perhaps if you won't mind, let's switch the speakers and let's hope that the thunderstorm will pass, because unfortunately we cannot hear you very well.
Okay, I will try to switch off my camera.
Okay.
Maybe that will help.
Yeah, we can try that as well. Yes, let's try without the camera if it works better.
And let me just try to make it less noisy.
The noise is not a problem. We don't hear the noise, but just we couldn't hear for a while nothing at all. But now it seems to be better.
Okay, how is it now?
Now it's much better.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen, and I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can see it very well.
Okay. So hello, everybody. My name is Piibe Vaher, and I am an agronomical advisor in AGRI. A little bit about AGRI. We are a software company, and we also offer independent consultancy. And we are in the middle of building a soil carbon crediting program at the moment. But today I was asked to talk about the Soil Your Undis campaign that we held last year among Estonian, Latvian and Polish farmers. And it is, I think it's a quite good example of citizen and farmer engagement project in soil mission. So what is Soil Your Undis challenge about? According to Google, it originates from Oregon, USA, and it was first launched in 2018. The purpose of this project is to build public interest in soil health in a not very serious or scientific way. This challenge has been done all around the world. For example, USA that I already mentioned, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and now also in Estonia, Latvia, and Poland. Why did we decide to do it? Our main goal was to focus on soil health, raise public awareness, talk more about soil health and soil in general, and also engage farmers, and most importantly, to have a bit of fun. The idea behind Soil Undis is very simple. Farmers received 100% cotton underpants from us, which they buried into the soil that they were curious about. Then they marked the place with a flag, kept the pants underground for 12 weeks, and then dug them out. We also asked them to take photos of the process and to weigh the results, just to have a leaderboard, because we wanted to reward the best results. And you can see the picture of from April 2021 when first pants were buried, and also a very good photograph because there's already one worm inspecting them. What happens underground? As we all know, healthy soil contains billions of microscopic organisms, which are constantly feeding on organic matter. Cotton is also an organic substance that decomposes like any other natural material. So if the soil is healthy and has a good biological activity in it, then the underpants decompose almost completely. Only the rubber waistband is left. But if the living environment for soil organisms is not good, then decomposition will not happen, and further investigation is needed. Well, the problem can be compaction, low pH, too wet or too dry soil, and so on. But the most important thing for farmers is to ask why, take samples if needed, and try to improve the situation. Our campaign was launched in April 2021, and we are also in the middle of 2022 challenge at the moment. Last year, we had approximately 100 participants in Estonia, 70 in Latvia, and 50 in Poland. And altogether, we sent out about 300 pairs of underpants. The public interest was huge. We were interviewed and published in TVs, newspapers, podcasts in all of the 3 countries. In Estonia, for example, the most interesting participants were AHA Science Center, Estonian Agricultural Museum, some newspapers, our national TV channel, And we were also contacted by a local school who wanted to write a scientific research paper about soil dandies. So we sent them 15 pairs as well. Since I was managing the Estonian campaign, then I will briefly talk about the results that we got in Estonia. The initial weight of all plants was 70 grams, and the average weight of decomposed dandies was almost 50 grams. And that of cotton was eaten by organisms living in the soil. Our best result was 22 grams, which is also almost 70% of reduction in weight. And you can see the picture in the upper right corner that is taken from the digging out of those winning plants, and that is basically the only thing that is left are some rubber waistband and some like where double fabric was. The worst result was 66 grams, so only 5.7% of reduction in weight. And we also received results from the school students projects, and their best result was 14 grams. Their scientific research was based on burying the plants. All the 15 pairs were buried in different locations, and this 14 grams was from compost pilots, so it's quite logical. And the school students, they were from 7th and 9th grade. In conclusion, we were very happy with the results of our campaign. We gained public interest, we raised awareness of soil health, we aroused interest among farmers, and also had a lot of fun holding the campaign. So I think it is very important to educate the public about the importance of soil health in an easy and understandable way. It is also important to engage farmers because they are the ones whose decisions and actions have an immediate impact on soil health. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Piibe. And so it was a very nice example how to make the scientific topic more popular among the wider audience as well, and how to engage the wider audience. I see some questions in the chat as well, but we will tackle the questions at the end, but feel free as well to answer them in the chat. But we would go on now with Poland. We have a very nice speaker, Paweł Kastmarek, from Terra Nostra Agriculture Development Foundation, Poland. So I would give now word to you, Paweł.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Hopefully you can hear me plenty.
We hope that you don't have a thunderstorm in Poland.
Yes, yeah. It was very small yesterday. However, can you see the presentation at the moment?
Yes. Only not yet in the presentation mode.
All right. So I represent the Foundation Terra Nostra. Foundation Terra Nostra is sharing the knowledge about regenerative farming with students, pupils, and farmers mostly. So we engage also the citizens in the deal to soil. And Foundation Terra Nostra also support farmer how to convert the farm into the regenerative farming, and finally this farm could be certified by some independent company. I was born in a very small farm in the Midwest Poland, very close to Poznań, in 1983, and after I graduated the Agricultural University of Poznań as a plant specialist, plant protection specialist, I joined Top Farms. Top Farms, this is the biggest farming and land operator in Poland. And I was very surprised, and I was very fascinated of this new invention of chemical industry. I start to implement all the chemical products into the live synthetic fertilizers, and then I recognized that the effect of that is not especially expected by me. So I've changed the life a bit. I've changed the soil management at farm, and parallelly, of course, the climate has changed a bit. I wouldn't like to explain you about the climate change because it's obvious. We all know that the temperature increased on the world, but note that since 1850 till 900, the average temperature in the world increased by 1 Celsius degree. exactly the same increasement we had between 2011 and 2020. So if we have the same speed of temperature increase, probably by 2100, we will have 6 Celsius degrees more higher temperature across the world. It will, of course, have some impact on carbon dioxide emission. And we know we have different scientists, but most of them predict that 50% of carbon dioxide emission comes from global food production system, and nearly 10%, over 10% of them is just only from land cultivation, soil plowing, soil cultivating, because we are burning the organic matter. Similar amount of carbon dioxide comes from deforestation. It has, of course, some impact on the reduction of the moisture in the soil. Scientists predicted by 5%. And finally, it could reduce our yielding by 10 to even 30%, what means less food for us, for citizens, for the population, which is still increase. And there's no matter where the farmers work across the world. All of them need the soil. The soil, not the land, not the ground, just the soil. Between the land and ground and soil is that the soil is a life product. Yeah? The soil has the full of life inside, and very often the soils are degraded across the world. You can see the deserting process is driving very fast across the world. In the middle of the slide, you can see the picture from Chihuahua Desert. A few years ago, some American farmers tried to restore the Chihuahua Desert, and they have some positive result. You can notice that on the website, you can find it on the internet, the Chihuahua Desert restoring. However, the remaining part of picture came from Poland, and you shouldn't go in the Sahara Desert to see the sandstorm. This is the movie from the Poland. This is exactly in the Midwest Poland, very close to Poznań, where we have very, very wet, or the moisture in the soil is not like in Sahara, like in the desert. We can observe that the dust is blowing in the air. Parallelly, the average annual rainfalls are reduced very much. Till 2010, the average rainfalls in the area where I operate was 550, as you can see. And here you can see 2019. In the Midwest Poland, the annual rainfalls are reduced very much in the last few years. Additionally, the temperatures increased very much. When I was the child and I was in the primary school, the average temperature for our region was 8 degrees, the annual temperature. Currently, you can see that we can have even over 10 Celsius degrees, the average temperature in our country, our region. And in our company, Top Farms, we introduced some very useful tool, and I recommend you that tool, this tool called Walter's climate diagram. Walter was the scientist, and he researched the relation between moisture, between rainfalls and the temperature. And in the end of his life, he recognized that for every single Celsius degree of the average month temperature, the soil and plants need 3 millimeters of rainfall to cover the needs of water. So if you have 10 degrees of the month average temperature, you need 30 mils of water to cover the needs. If the red line is below the blue line, so if the average temperature line is below the blue line, it means that these needs were covered by the rainfalls in particular month. But when the blue line of the rainfalls, like here in the March of 2022 in our area, where we not achieved any rainfall during whole the March, if this blue line is below the red line, below the line of the temperature, it means that we have the water shortage, the water deficit. And to describe you, this water deficit is still exists and still present in our area at the moment. So additionally, the food industry, and this is the picture which shows you, I'm sorry for the Polish words, but you have some pictures so you exactly know about what products I'm talking about. This is from Ciba Geigy from Switzerland. And this laboratory has measured in 1985 what is the nutrients contents inside of our food. They measured it in 1996 and also in 2002. And what you can see, the decrease of nutrients quality, nutrients contents in our food across the decades. And this is horrible, because this, what previously was a food, now is something what is filling our stomach, our digesting system, and not exactly feeding us. And this is, of course, very dangerous for us as humans, because we need to be fed, not only to fill our stomach. And what I like to try explain you about the regenerative farming is the way how do we achieve that, what do we introduce. But finally, we had some benefits of that. And what is achievable now for farmers, this is the most important thing. I think the inputs reduction, the higher yields, because we increase the soil potential. So we increase finally the yielding. When you compare it with the lower inputs, that means that farmers can generate higher profit, what is very attractive, I think, for the farmers. And healthier soil give you higher yielding, gives you the wealthier farmer, also wealthier industry business, because we can prove that our products from the regenerative farming has, for example, higher sugar contents inside, lower residues of the pesticides inside, what is very useful for the food industry. And also wealthier industry gives the food which is very healthy. And finally, it means healthier customer. And healthier customer is that what is our goal, because all the things what we do as a farmers is the food production for all the citizens. And what does it mean healthy soil? I think that I'm very related to my previous speaker, because this small spoon of tea has more microbes inside than people across the world. And here you can see that 1 single gram of healthy soil has a billion bacteria inside, many of nematodes and protozoas. And finally, you can see in the healthy soil many worms. Probably most of you heard very much about sustainability, but to be sustained is not enough, because you will not change the situation which is on the right side of the picture. So we must regenerate. We must start to change our life, our soil management, to convert this degraded soil into this beautiful and plenty soil. And that's the reason why we introduced the biologization. Biologization is nothing else like regenerative farming provided by Foundation Terra Nostra and Top Farms. And this is not single practice, this is not single activity, this is the holistic system of soil management, where we would like to engage the microbes life in the soil, where we would like to balance the nutrients in the soil, what finally will build the soil potential and yielding potential. It gives us better food, protect the environment, and improves the quality of that what we eat on the plate. And we have two ways of operating on our land. We can be a farmer with the very full cultivating and maximum disturbance soil operation, but finally is the carbon dioxide emission, because we are burning the organic matter in the soil. Or we can provide as a farmers mixed production, animals and arable production, livestock and arable production together. We can protect the soil with min-till and conservation tillage. Finally, provide the sequestration process, what is very useful for us, and reduce the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That what we did in Top Farms, and we introduced, implement, and shared as a Foundation Terra Nostra, is the State Book Value Book 5C. This is very similar to Japanese 5S, which take care about the production surface. We introduced 5 main topics in our life and soil management. From the first letter of the English words calcium, carbon, cover crops, cultivation, and culture, we would like to change the system of managing the soil. And first of all is calcium. Calcium is all about the chemistry in the soil. where calcium is also very important. We would like to create the pH, which is not higher than 7 in the water measured. We would like to have in our soil 1 gram of soluble calcium, because calcium is also feeding the plant, of soluble calcium in 1 kilogram of soil. And we would like to have the suitable ratio, the proper ratio between calcium, magnesium, and other cations in the soil, what is balanced and what is very useful for plants to grow fast, to grow plenty, and build the yielding. The second C is carbon, of course. Gareth Zimmer, who is one of the pioneers in the regenerative farming, told me that treat your soil as a cow, because cow is not a plant consumer. Cow only introduce the plants into the stomach, feed the bacteria feed the protozoas, and cow consumes finally the animal protein. We exactly do the same with our soil. We feed the microbes, and then microbes works for us to feed our plants. And our target is to fertilize every single field. So farmers should fertilize every single field with some organic biomass, never mind what, compost, slurry, manure, or chicken muck, never mind what. We should increase the organic matter in the soil, because organic matter is the food for bacteria, and bacteria is every time at the beginning of the food supply chain. So we have some evidence where we can increase our organic matter in the soil during the last 3 years, even over 1% in the 30 centimeters deep top soil. So this is very, very brilliant, very good result, and we are happy of that. Another point, that the third C is cover crop. Cover crops protect the soil very much, especially against water erosion. What you can see as an example in the movie, how the huge rain can destroy the soil. These cover crops protect the soil very promptly against the rainfall. It has also many other benefits, like, for example, biodiversity. We can suppress the weeds on our fields, because it has some competition between these species. Of course, the nutrient cycle is engaged by the cover crops, because they are taking the nutrients from the deeper part of soil built into the bodies, and finally we can use this digested cover crops to feed our main crops. And to present you some example from our farm, we cooperate also with our neighbors. We prepared our field before the potato. We applied the organic fertilizer and then established the cover crops. After 2 months, we have the result like that. We did exactly the same on our neighbor field, because we would like to test this field, and the result was like that. The reason, very aggressive chemicals which kills everything what is alive and what is not cereals, because this farmer used it in cereals. So we must be very aware, and we must protect our soil against the chemical pesticides. And the fourth C is cultivation. Here you can see the example from our area. The distance between the fields is less than 2 kilometers. And 1 year ago, one of our farmers prepared the soil in a conventional way. And then we had drought, the soil was naked, so the germination was very poor and very late of this maize. Then the wind blowed and take the sand, the dust, and hurt the maize. Then a farmer applied very strong and aggressive herbicide, because this naked soil with the wind provided the conditions very good for the weeds. The weeds developed, so he sprayed twice. And then since June till August, we had another drought, what has a very horrible effect for this maize, what you can see on the picture on the left side. And on the right side, you can see, in my opinion, quite good maize. The distance is very close, very low, so the conditions were comparable. The summary of the rainfall was comparable, and the soil type was exactly the same. So here you can see the visible effect of that. How can we manage and how can we protect our soil against the unfavorable conditions of the climate and weather? And the fifth C is, of course, the culture. Culture means not only that what we are doing inside of the field, but also outside of the field. Culture is also treating about the pest reduction. It's also treating about the hedges, about flowering grasslands for our bees, of course. It's also about the crop rotation, what is the most important way to protect our crops against some diseases. And I believe that this 5C code is the answer for farmers' acceptations, for our Green Deal, and of course for the climate change in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was like very nice insight, and it was very well presented how some principal changes can really guarantee better soil health and fertility. So we will go on now with the next presenters, but please post your questions in the chat. I have already some hints that there will be some questions. So we will go on with the example from Latvia. So I would give a floor now to Ruta Abaya, Institute of Environmental Solutions.
Hello, everyone. Do you hear me well?
We hear you very well.
Perfect. So I will share the presentation. Everything is working?
Everything is working very well.
Perfect.
So
thank you very much for inviting our institute to present activities dealing with the soil. Soil studies actually are relatively new topic in our institute, but recently, a few years ago, we started to discover this very fundamental part of ecosystems as well in our institute. The one of the most relevant soil-related activities in our institute currently, which is ongoing, are conducted via the LifeCraft project that is dedicated to the climate responsible agriculture for Latvia. The leading partner for the project is Latvian Fund for Nature, but our institute is highly involved in the most of the project actions. And today I will talk mostly about these project activities, what we are doing within this project. The objectives of the project is to implement, to test, evaluate, promote, and provide guidance on effective and economically feasible means for the reduction of agriculture GHG emissions. And as the previous talker told, agriculture, and probably also now, the agriculture is the third largest emitting sector behind energy and transport in European Union. And Latvia's agriculture is responsible for around 21% out of the country's total emissions. It is twice as much as the 10% of EU average. And soils are the largest terrestrial carbon storages on the Earth, and the majority of this CO2 from agriculture lands is released through the soil erosion and respiration. Moreover, due to the climate change, the release of the soil stored CO2 increase is caused by warmer and drier weather. It has negative effects on the agriculture yields. Within this project, 3 soil management approaches we are testing. The first one is biochar-based soil supplement, which is done by Latvian Fund for Nature. Another one is no-till farming practice. And the third one is elevation of the groundwater table by invention of controlled drainage systems. And I will talk a little bit more about this last approach, because this approach we are doing, our institute. And the idea of this is to change previously existing drainage systems that drain the fields without any regulation. The approach requires rebuilding of the existing drainage wells and equip them with a solution, what you can see on the photos. Maybe I can show, in this way. Do you see the mouse? I hope you see.
Yes, we see.
There is the wall in the well with holes. There is 1 and 2, and also the gate at the bottom of the well. And this construction helps to regulate the groundwater level. And you can see that there is difference between the water level in one side and another side of the wall. Groundwater level and amount also of the outlet water of the drainage. And before planting and harvesting, the outlet can be lowered, letting the agriculture machinery to access the field. But during the rest of the season, as you can see here on this picture, the raised water level reduces drought risk for the crop. So, can I go further? No, something is not working. Okay, now it's working. And another very important task for this project of our institute is to lead the monitoring actions in all the project sites. And the monitoring methods vary among the soil management approaches. And due to that, we also modify the methods. The literature says that the biochar incorporation reduces nitrogenous oxide emissions, improves soil fertility, and attracts soil microorganisms. It retains water and reduces overflow of the farmland pollution into groundwater and surface water bodies. To measure these potential benefits in our project sites, we are collecting twice per season soil samples to analyze the physical and chemical parameters. You can see what kind of parameters we are analyzing. And also we are collecting samples to analyze the microbial activity in the soil. And yeah, this is done twice per year. Before sowing and after harvesting, we take the samples to the lab and analyze the data. For no-tilling farming, there is mentioned that the reduction of soil tillage practice diminish nitrogenous oxide release and decrease the risk of soil erosion, thus reducing also a necessity for irrigation, and improves soil biological activity and fertility by maintaining permanent vegetation cover. Besides the soil sampling, again for the physical and chemical and also microbiological monitoring, we also collect data of the weed and soil invertebrate diversity once per vegetation season. And the soil samples we're taking in these cases once per season between the sowing and harvesting on the sites. And for the third approach, during the whole year except period when the soil is frozen, we are collecting greenhouse gas data of the greenhouse gas emissions by using climate chambers. As well, we are again collecting soil samples for physical and chemical parameters in these sites twice per year, as it was for the first approach. And we also collect drained water to measure the physical and chemical parameters. And in both main sites, there is installed also the local meteorological stations. They collect all the data and send remotely to us, so we can in our office check every hour the data which we receive from the meteorological stations. And as well, we have data loggers on the sites installed, and we also in the same way remotely can check the groundwater level fluctuations in these sites. And especially for these control and drainage system sites, we also collect airborne data with our own institute, the so-called flying laboratory. This is our plane equipped with the hyperspectral sensors and also can be equipped with other kind of sensors. But for this purpose, we are collecting the hyperspectral data to measure difference between the reference sites and the sites where this controlled drainage system is installed, to see a difference in vegetation draw stress. Is it noticeable or not? And for that, from the hyperspectral data, we can get out of the information about the crop stress level through the greenness index and also productivity measures. And due to that we are still the monitoring and project is still ongoing. I cannot share yet the results and conclusions. It will be available next year, but however, we think that the whole setup of the monitoring methods are quite unique, at least in the scale of Latvia, and we guess that the gained data will be relevant also in Baltic scale, if not more. So that was very shortly about this project and our activities related to the soil into it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open to the questions, and I hope to be able to answer on them because I just months ago took the role of the project previous coordinator, so I hope to be able to answer on them quite well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this very nice insight. And we will, yes, tackle the questions at the end. So you are really, please feel free to submit the questions. And we will go on with the next presenter. So the next presenter we have from Lithuania, so Mantas Robiesius, and he's from a startup, so startup BioVala. So the floor is yours, Mantas.
Hello, everything okay? You can see my slide?
Yes.
Okay, I will start. Hello, I'm Mantas Robiesius. Today I will briefly present the activities of the BioVala startup and your participation in the project Phyto to Climate. BioVala is an innovative private equity-based science production biotechnology company founded in 2014, whose core business is improving the quality of the environment. The main goal of the company is to provide professional consultations and environmental improvement issues and to offer high-quality products and services that help to solve eco and environmental problems. Our activities, we started with the idea of remediation of contaminated soils. We were the first company in Lithuania who started offering phytoremediation technology commercially. Over time, we have expanded our activities. BioVala is currently engaged in remediation of contaminated soils, consultation on agribusiness, renewable energy, environmental engineering, and environmental issues. Carries out scientific research, provides laboratory research service, trades in biological products. The BioVala team is based on 3 people. I am Mantas. I am specialist in biogas production, greenhouse gases emission, biodegradable waste management. Colleague Žygimantas is energy system and renewable energy engineer, developer of clean technologies and agribusiness. Colleague Alfreda is a specialist in heavy metal contaminated soil and water cleanup technologies. So let's move on to the origins of why here was a need to create a startup. Here are 2.8 million potential contaminated sites in Europe, of which 342,000 are hard damaged and are in need of rehabilitation. Here are 12.5 thousand potentially contaminated sites in Lithuania. An estimated 5,000 such sites are contaminated with petroleum hydrocarbons. So we have a huge environmental problem that requires an appropriate solution. One such solution is phytoremediation technology. Phytoremediation technology is based on the unique properties of plants to collect pollutants, promote hair degradation, immobilization, or transformation. phytoremediation technology is an environmentally friendly solution that does not require high labor, energy, and financial costs to clean contaminated soil. Cleaning is carried out in situ at the site where is a pollution. However, this method has several drawback disadvantage, limited to the surface area and deep occupied by the roots, and take long time. The survival of plants is affected by the toxicity of the contaminated land. Plant biomass requires safe disposal. Now I would like to present a scientific research project in which BioValia is involved as one of the partners. I will show a short video of the project presentation.
Pollution in soil directly affects ecosystems and lands, reducing food and water quality. Almost 70% of soil ecosystems in the EU are considered unhealthy. It is estimated that almost 400,000 sites will require remediation to make them safe to use. Phi2 Climate is a €4 million EU-funded project lasting 54 months that aims to create biofuels using cultivated energy crops from contaminated soil. This method uses specific plants and their associated microbes to remediate soil in a period of 20 years and is known as phytoremediation. The project consortium, consisting of 16 partners from 9 countries, collaborates to combine phytoremediation solutions and clean biofuel production from sites polluted with heavy metals and hydrocarbons. Crops grown on 4 pilot sites in different regions of Europe and South America will be tested as feedstock for biomass thermochemical conversion through TCR, an innovative technology that can produce different types of biofuels for road and shipping transport, as well as biocoke for the metallurgical industry. Cultivation of energy crops on contaminated land could produce up to 137 million meters cubed of drop-in liquid biofuel per year worldwide, while remediating 22 million hectares of land, as well as providing sustainable and economic solutions to lower the pressure in land use competition and contributing to greenhouse gas reduction through replacing fossil fuels with green energy and storing carbon in soils. Phi2 Climate will significantly contribute to almost all sustainable development goals. A winning situation all round. For more information on the project and its partners, please visit our website www.phi2climate.eu.
So, we perform scientific phytoremediation research in Šiauliai city at the former oil base. Concentration of TPH, total petroleum hydrocarbons, in the soil is exceeding limit value up to 22 times. Highest levels of contamination are in 100 centimeters deep. We started field research this year. Before that, we did the site preparation work and performed the pot experiments. The main objective of the pot trail was to evaluate the potential to degrade petroleum hydrocarbons and another organical in contaminated soil, using especially for this purpose a designed combination of plants, biological additives, and nutrients. It was used 2 monocultures, amaranth and Jerusalem artichoke, and 3 mixes of herbaceous plants in the pot trail, where a single mix is compressed of at least 4 different plant species. During the pot trail, it was aimed to determine which mixes or even species are more sustainable for TPH degradation, so that in the upcoming field trail, only 1 mix with the highest degradation potential would be used. The findings clearly indicates that the choice and plants species can be successfully grown on the contaminated soil at the given contamination level, according to the choice and cultivation strategy. Furthermore, plants cultivated on contaminated soil with a priority strategy can produce equal and higher biomass output. The phytoremediation potential was achieved using herbaceous plants, mix 1 in particular. The phytoremediation potential for all plant species using the pot experimental can be summarized as follow: mix 1, mix 2, mix 3, amaranth, and Jerusalem artichoke. It was observed that the lighter petroleum hydrocarbons fractions were degraded easier, whereas heavier fraction diesel or residual that were dominate in the contaminated soil were degraded to a lesser extent, but the decrease in concentration of all fractions was observed in all cases. Although one growing season was successful to degrade TPH below maximum permissible values in this specific case, the obtained result show a large potential for a successful cleanup of the contaminated site in Šiauliai city just in a few years. As I mentioned earlier, we have started field trials this spring. The photos were taken in early June. The plants germinated successfully, even though we had a dry and cold spring. I hope we get good results and achieved our goals. So thank you for your attention, and sorry for my English skills.
No problem. Thank you. Everything was very easy to understand. And we have some quite a lot of information in the chat, but and I saw some questions as well for different speakers. But I would start with a question for Mantas. So thank you first for all this info. It seems that this project is very promising, but is there some differences between the different land use types? Could you apply as well the same methodologies, for example, in the forested area, or like what you should take into account in that kind of different land use types?
Different sites, different case requires different methodology, because one plant's growing better in one soil type or different contamination. It's very, very important. So different sites, different methodology.
And different approach. Okay, this is very, I think, important to remind us well that exactly the different, we cannot apply all the same measures to different sites.
Yes.
Okay. Meanwhile, we had here a question to Bibe as well, but I saw that Bibe already answered in the chat, but I would maybe go a bit further and ask from Bibe, will your project plans to have a more scientific approach as well in the future, or what are your future plans?
We were discussing it this year, but decided to still not take a very scientific approach, because this project's main idea is to keep it simple and to engage citizens and farmers in an understandable and easy way. But we have some ideas to count the worms in the locations where the plants are buried, and we are already talking about one worm scientist in Estonia as well. So I think to keep an interest in this project, then we probably will do some changes.
Thank you. And I think cooperation here is a key as well, as you mentioned, that you are engaging already someone else to your project outside of your organization. And we saw from those other presentations that there is a lot of scientific expertise available as well. And I guess you would be very interested from cooperation as well.
Yes, of course.
So I have a question to Pavel. I saw that Pavel as well already answered about the educational activities, but maybe one thing that we could stress here more, that my Polish colleagues, they told that you already start all those educational activities from a very early age. Could you please comment on that a bit as well, and why it is so important?
Yeah, because at Terra Nostra we believe that to build the awareness, we must start very fast and very early. So we start to educate the pupils in the kindergartens when the children are aged 3 or 4 years old. We start to educate them how to trash the grains from the earth, for example. So very simple things, but they explain them how does a food chain supply looks like and from where the food exactly is, that the milk is not from the freezer, just from the cow originally. And we start to crush the grains with them, to produce the powder in the kindergartens and flour, to show them that from the grains, finally we can achieve the bread, for example. And that's all the story about farming. Then we introduce some activities about environment. How could we as a people in the kindergarten could protect the world against the waste, for example? Should we segregate the waste, etc., etc.? Should we reduce the electricity consumption, the diesel consumption, and all these cases, all these things which are environment friendly? We start to educate them what about is the farming, the agriculture globally, and teach them that this is very important to protect the soil, because 2/3 of our carbon located in the world is located under the ground, and only 1/3 is in the oceans and above the ground. So this is very important to operate with the soil with the proper way, on the soil, with the soil, and about the soil.
Thank you very much. And from the last panel, my last question goes to Ruta. So your example was very, very interesting as well. And I have heard a lot of other scientific studies as well. There they are looking into that kind of problems, and as well not only in agriculture land, but as well in forested areas. But I have a question what is related perhaps as well with your future plans. Do you plan to go international as well with that study? Because it seems that it would be very interesting for other countries as well.
You mean exactly with this soil monitoring studies, what we are doing?
Yes, and with drainage, you presented as well, like this new novel approach.
Mm-hmm. Because this is LifeCraft project, we are expecting also during end of this year and maybe next year to present also these results in wider audience internationally as well, in conferences, and in the project final conference, I guess we also will present more results and also this. And in future, yes, we are seeing that hopefully the results will, the monitoring results will prove that it is very successful to work in this way. And we hope to go on with this in future as well, with these solutions.
Thank you very much.
And if I can add,
yes,
then we are
please.
also very much strongly working in remote sensing, and that's also one way we are looking forward in the future, how we can help with the remote sensing technologies to solve different kind of problems and to see what happens in the soil from the top, if we can, for example, draw stresses in the crops and so on. So we are very much looking forward in the future to develop these methods and solutions also, and cooperate with other colleagues in other countries as well.
Thank you. So I think we could conclude this panel. And to conclude with the final remark that there is a lot of exciting things going on already on the field of soil. And there is a lot of expertise available, a lot of different expertise, a lot of best practices already available, but could as well very much be linked to the EU soil mission. We heard from the Commission as well that the plans are very ambitious. So I encourage all the participants to get involved. We will definitely hear about the soil mission at national level as well, because we had this previous webinar, what was more concentrated on the national level. And we heard that there are national level plans already, and the ministries are really thinking about the soil mission at country level. We heard about CrowdHelix, and there are like some support measures planned as well. And there are very good ways already and best practices how to make yourself visible, how to find the best partners. And I would conclude the event with thanking all the speakers, thanking all the participants. I would encourage you to check out the web pages which were in the chat. We will share as well the presentations. And on behalf of all the organizers, I would like to thank you once again, and until the next events.
Thank you and bye to all.